Hey, what's going on? I'm out here in Iceland right now, and I just wanted to make this quick little video today talking about how to design and live the life of your dreams. Now, this is a question that many of you have. This is a question that I had myself for the longest time in my life. When I was 20 years old, only a few years ago, I'm 23 now, I was constantly wondering, am I going to go through my life just being broke, just being poor? Am I going to go through my life just living in scarcity? Am I going to go through my life working a job that I hate? Is that the only way? And so I knew that wasn't. I knew that there had to be some other way out. And so what I did was I started exploring. I started to read. I actually read over 168 books last year. I know it's actually pretty crazy, but I read voraciously. I read constantly, probably. So every single week, I'm probably at least in 3 different books. And one of the books that I've been studying recently is called Reality Transurfing. And I know it's a crazy name. You probably haven't heard of it. I definitely haven't heard of it until recently. I actually just heard of it, I think, like in an entrepreneur circle that I'm in. And I started to really study this book about probably a month ago now. It's a huge book. It's 800 pages long. And, right here, me being in Iceland right now, this kind of gets me thinking about this stuff because the book talks about how we all choose our own reality, and it gives you a framework of how to actually choose the reality that you want. The book says that we all have an infinite number of realities that all exist at the same time. And so it says that you can actually go and you can actively pick the reality that you want to manifest in your life. And so I look back at my own life and I realized that I did exactly this when I went from being broke to being financially abundant, when I went from broke to being successful or successful by society's terms. In the past few years, my life has completely changed. Not only have I been able to help myself reach financial success and abundance, but I've also been able to build an amazing community of entrepreneurs. I've coached over probably 6,000 people now, 6,000 people and growing every single day to success with their online business in e-commerce, Amazon FBA, Shopify, dropshipping, which are basically the best online businesses you can start today, in my opinion. And so if you looked at me only a few years ago, you would have seen that transition take place. And so that's why I love studying books like this. The book also says that our thoughts are basically seeds to our reality. And there are also thousands of books that basically reiterate the exact same thing. So I'm sure you've heard of me talk about this on the channel before, the law of attraction, all these things. This is what brings you success. This is what really allows you to not only shape, but choose your reality. If you want to go, and let's say you want to make $1 million, right? For example, let's say you set that as a financial goal, you have to choose that reality. But then there's also a whole list of other factors you have to consider. There's also outside forces, and these are called pendulums. The book talks about that, where basically different thought groups, they kind of try to pressure you into their sphere of influence. So for example, if you try to go and become an entrepreneur right now, I'm sure that you are meeting some kind of resistance, maybe with your family, right? Your family's unsupportive. Maybe your friends don't really encourage you, right? Maybe a few are, and those are your real friends. Remember that. So that's what a pendulum is. It's an example of a pendulum. And let's say, just as a general example, could be people that don't believe in global warming, right? So let's say there's a group of people that don't believe in global warming, and so they're all kind of adhering to this pendulum. And so pendulums can either break us or help us. And that's what the book said. And I really, really studied this because I'm like, okay, well, if there's this, this phenomenon called pendulums, how do I make sure that I don't fall into pendulums that negatively affect my life? And how do I make sure that I only stick to pendulums that allow me to move forward? And so I know what my goals are. It's very important to know what your exact goals are. You have to know where you want to be in 5 years, at least in the next 3 years, or else your life is going nowhere. Your life is kind of just, it's not going nowhere, but it's basically, you're going to allow life to just choose randomly for you. And whether that's a good or bad outcome, who knows? I'd rather choose my life than basically have life randomly choose for me. So here are some of the pendulums that I kind of stick to, or schools of thought, I guess, or just beliefs that I stick to. They can also be called paradigms. If you read a book called The 7 Habits of Highly Effective People, it's one of the most famous self-development books of all time. And so that book talks about, if you want to succeed, you have to start by changing your paradigms. And so that's what I had to do. I had to change my paradigms. And so, this whole pendulum thing, you can also call it, basically changing your paradigms, right? So basically the pendulums that I kind of believe in are anybody can be successful as long as they, apply the work, as long as they place one step forward, they never look back every single day. Eventually they'll get to their goal. And so that's what I believe in myself, because I've seen it happen in my own life. I've seen myself go from absolutely zero, $40,000 in college debt, miserable, to just the complete other side of this, right? The complete opposite of that, to having financial abundance, being able to travel anywhere in the world, basically growing this amazing community of online entrepreneurs, and also building the #1 online business platform in the world for people wanting to learn how to start a successful online business. And this is the stuff that allows you to achieve freedom. I'm telling you, you've got to expand your horizons. Me, instead of, before when I was saying, no, I don't need that stuff. I don't need self-development. I don't need to read these books. I don't need, just teach me how to make money. And when I was stuck in that phase, guess what? I had less and less money. But when I switched my paradigms and when I stopped listening, when I stopped allowing myself to get consumed by negative pendulums, right, which were these pendulum, for example, a pendulum which was, you don't need to learn self-development, you don't need to improve yourself, you can just, learn the tactics and the strategies. Go look at those people. They're typically the people who, basically try 1,000 different business models and they get nowhere. Whereas one person who decides what they want in life, let's say whether that's $1 million, whether that's, $10,000 a month, whether that's a profitable online business that allows them to travel the world, allows them to go to beautiful places like this. Check this out, it's crazy. I was actually going to go to pilot school in Iceland. It was one of my dreams. I was going to go to pilot school because they have really good, I guess they have like a really good flying school here. And I think it was cheaper than in Canada. It was one of my dreams to become a pilot. And so I never did that. I actually skipped that because, I didn't have the money. My parents didn't have the money. And it just seemed like a too far off dream. And so now that would have been an alternative life path, an alternative reality that still exists today, right? According to reality transurfing, it sounds crazy, but I've, kind of stuck to a life path that is more suitable to me and to what my real goals were. And I'm very happy I did that. And one of the things that the book says, and it's obviously true, it can't be argued against, is that having a positive attitude consistently is the best tool, the best method to actually improve your life for the better and significantly improve your life. You are the person that is actively choosing your reality, so choose better. Choose greatness, choose, just refuse mediocrity, refuse average, and just tell yourself, hey, I'm no different than these successful people. That's what I told myself. I started to read biographies. I started to read, some of the greatest, I started to study some of the greatest people of all time, like Arnold Schwarzenegger, who else, whatever the biographies. I read so many. There was Steve Jobs, there was Bill Gates, right? Just some of the greatest people, Elon Musk. And reading these biographies also makes you realize that, hey, these people are no different. These people are no different than you or I. They chose their reality. And they were practicing transurfing, which was reality transurfing, without even knowing it. And so I want to end this off by saying choose success, choose greatness, and choose the reality that best suits your goals and dreams. And most importantly, choose freedom. Subscribe to the channel, like the video, tell me what you think, right? If you read the book, if you haven't read the book, come back to this video. Tell me what you think, leave a comment. I'm going to respond to all the comments on this video. Hope you enjoyed. I'll see you.